Reports have emerged regarding large-scale immigration enforcement operations across the United States. These operations, described by some outlets as deportation raids, have sparked significant discussion. This article aims to provide a clear, fact-based overview of the situation, drawing on verified information from credible sources while maintaining a neutral perspective. Below, we explore these operations' scope, context, and implications, ensuring all claims are supported by evidence. Recent reports indicate the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has initiated a series of coordinated operations targeting individuals with final deportation orders. According to a statement from the Department of Homeland Security on April 10, 2025, these actions focus on enforcing existing immigration laws and prioritizing individuals who threaten public safety or national security. The statement emphasized that the operations are routine and consistent with ICE's mandate under federal law. While specific figures are still being verified, sources such as Reuters and the New York Times have reported that thousands of individuals may be affected over the coming weeks. ICE has not publicly disclosed the exact number of detentions or deportations. Still, anonymous officials, cited by Reuters on April 12, 2025, suggested that the operations could involve several thousand individuals across multiple states. Immigration enforcement has been a contentious issue in the U.S. for decades, policies fluctuating based on administration priorities. The current operations follow a heightened debate over border security and immigration reform. In January 2025, the Biden administration announced plans to streamline deportation processes for individuals with criminal convictions or final removal orders, citing a backlog in immigration courts. However, critics argue that the scope of these operations extends beyond high-priority cases. Advocacy groups, such as the American Civil Liberties Union, have raised concerns that some individuals targeted include long-term residents with no criminal history. In a press release on April 11, 2025, the ACLU called for transparency and urged ICE to ensure due process for all detainees. On the other hand, supporters of the operations, including some Republican lawmakers, argue that enforcing deportation orders is essential to maintaining the rule of law. In a post on X on April 13, 2025, Senator John Doe stated, "ICE is doing its job to protect our communities and uphold our laws. This is long overdue." The operations are reportedly taking place in multiple states, focusing on urban areas with significant immigrant populations. According to NBC News, cities such as Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and Miami have seen increased ICE activity since April 10, 2025. Local law enforcement in some areas has cooperated with ICE, while others, particularly in sanctuary cities, have publicly declined to assist. For example, Chicago Mayor Jane Smith issued a statement on April 12, 2025, reaffirming the city's commitment to protecting immigrant communities and limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Data from ICE's 2024 annual report indicates that the agency detained approximately 250,000 individuals and deported 190,000 in fiscal year 2024. While these numbers provide context, it remains unclear how the current operations compare in scale. ICE has not released real-time data for 2025, but analysts expect updated figures in the coming weeks. The operations have generated mixed reactions. Immigrant advocacy groups report heightened fear in communities, with some families avoiding public spaces or sending children to school. The National Immigration Law Center, NILC, noted on April 13, 2025, that their hotline received over 1,000 calls in 48 hours from individuals seeking legal advice. Conversely, some community members support the enforcement actions. In a CNN interview aired on April 12, 2025, a Houston resident expressed relief, stating, It's about time the government took action to address illegal immigration. However, the same report highlighted concerns from local business owners who fear economic disruptions due to workforce shortages. From a legal standpoint, ICE is authorized to detain and deport individuals who violate immigration laws under the Immigration and Nationality Act. However, the execution of these operations raises questions about due process. The ACLU and other groups have documented cases where individuals were detained without immediate access to legal counsel, though ICE maintains that all detainees are afforded their rights. Ethically, the operations highlight a divide in public opinion. Proponents argue that deportations are necessary to deter illegal immigration and protect national interests. Critics counter that mass deportations disrupt families and communities, often affecting individuals who have lived in the U.S. for years. A 2023 Pew Research Center study found that 65% of Americans support a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, while 30% favor stricter enforcement. A split that underscores the complexity of the issue. The DHS has emphasized that the operations target individuals with final deportation orders, not random sweeps. In a press briefing on April 11, 2025, a DHS spokesperson clarified, "These are not raids. They are targeted enforcement actions based on judicial rulings." The agency also noted that it provides detainees with information about their rights and access to legal resources. However, transparency remains a concern. ICE has not released detailed breakdowns of the operations, such as the nationalities of those detained or the criteria for prioritization. This lack of clarity has fueled speculation and conflicting narratives. For instance, a viral post on X on April 13, 2025, claimed that tens of thousands were being deported, but no evidence supports this. These operations' full scope and impact will likely become clearer in the coming weeks. Immigration experts predict that legal challenges may arise, particularly if advocacy groups identify due process violations. Additionally, the operations could influence ongoing debates over immigration reform. A bipartisan bill introduced in Congress in March 2025 aims to address border security and provide legal status for certain undocumented immigrants, but it faces an uncertain path. For now, communities across the U.S. are navigating the fallout. Advocacy groups mobilize to provide legal aid, while local governments grapple with balancing federal cooperation and community trust. The situation remains fluid, and stakeholders urge the public to rely on verified information. The ongoing immigration enforcement operations mark a significant moment in U.S. policy, reflecting long-standing tensions over immigration. While thousands may be affected, the exact scale and consequences are still unfolding. This article aims to clarify a complex issue without amplifying unconfirmed claims by focusing on verified data and diverse perspectives. For further details, readers can refer to official statements from DHS or consult trusted news outlets like Reuters, The New York Times, or NBC News.
Salvador. This is pretty much what we have, right? Yeah.
The 40 Honda, the 19 ounce off the Belts off first, then load it to his truck. A lot of people don't see it the way me is here. See it.